The Michael Jackson movie just broke a record and became the biggest music biopic opening ever. The director of Leaving Neverland went on camera and said it opened #1 in 64 countries. Michael Jackson was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. And right before any of that could even sink in, you'll see exactly how that aged. Because there's a man who has been shutting this narrative down for and his name is Macaulay Culkin. You're going to learn who Dan Reed is, what Leaving Neverland actually was, and why he's been doing interview after interview right now in 2026, 30 years. That's the take he went with. And by the time this video is done, you're going to see the full Macaulay Culkin story, every time he's spoken up for Michael, under oath and on camera. Context, what you need to know. First, the allegations, a quick timeline. Before we get into anything else, you need a quick rundown of what actually happened, because you can't understand this whole conversation without knowing where it started. In 1993, a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler accused Michael Jackson of SA. Jackson denied, going all the way back to 1993. And you're going to find out about an FBI investigation that ran for almost 10 years, 16 hard drives, hundreds of agents, full surveillance. Let's get into it, and what they found at the end of it. You'll also find out what Jordan Chandler, the original 1993 accuser, the jury deliberated for 32 hours across 7 days. On the very first vote, before any actual deliberation even started, 9 out of 12 jurors voted to acquit right away, 4 hours long, built entirely around the testimonies of 2 men, Wade Robson and James Safechuck. Both claimed Jackson had accused them. On June 13, 2005, Michael Jackson was found not guilty on every single count. So what is Leaving Neverland? Now, 14 years after the acquittal, in 2019, a man named Dan Reed released a documentary called Leaving Neverland on HBO when they were children. The film won a BAFTA. It got massive coverage, and it genuinely changed how a lot of people thought about Michael Jackson overnight. But here's what Dan Reed doesn't bring up in his interviews. He built that entire 4-hour documentary with what he did when the FBI knocked on his door and asked him to testify at the 2005 criminal trial. That part doesn't get talked about enough. The case was settled civilly, meaning money was paid, but no one admitted guilt. No criminal charges were filed. In 2003, a second set of allegations came up after a TV documentary. Jackson was arrested and charged. A full criminal trial followed in 2005. 14 counts, without interviewing a single person who contradicted the claims. No former investigators, no detectives from the 1993 case or 2005 trial, no cross-examination of the accusers. And he later admitted on record that he chose not to use footage that would. His family was so confident in that, they actually held a public press conference defending Michael Jackson. Then, in 2005, at the criminal trial, Wade Robson was Jackson's first defense witness. He got on the stand, testified under oath, said he had slept in Jackson's bedroom more than 20 times, and was never once touched inappropriately. Have challenged his subjects. That's not journalism. That's one side of a story presented as the whole story. Wade Robson and James Safechuck, the credibility problem. Now you need to understand who these 2 men are, because their timeline is the entire thing. Wade Robson was 10 years old in 1993 when Jackson was first investigated. Police interviewed him. He told them nothing happened. Same story in 2005 that he told in 1993. James Safechuck told authorities the same thing in 1993. Nothing happened. Then, in May 2013, here's the problem that Dan Reed never addressed in 4 hours of documentary. Macaulay Culkin is one of the most famous child actors in Hollywood history. Home Alone, the face of the 90s. And through all of it, every allegation, every documentary, every wave of media coverage, he has never won. Either Robson and Safechuck lied under oath in 2005, or they are lying now. There is no third option. Both things cannot be true at the same time. Macaulay Culkin, 30 years of the same answer. Once changed his story about Michael Jackson. In 2005, when the criminal trial was happening, Culkin took the stand against the direct advice of his own managers and agents. They wanted nothing to do with the trial. His people told him to stay out of it. He showed up 4 years after Michael Jackson died and could no longer defend himself. Wade Robson filed a lawsuit. He claimed Jackson had been abusing him for 7 years, starting when he was 7 years old. Safechuck filed his own lawsuit in 2014. Anyway, he testified under oath that Jackson never touched him, never behaved inappropriately, and called the allegations, his words, absolutely ridiculous. Jackson's defense attorney, Thomas Mesereau, said it plainly afterward. Chris Tucker and Macaulay Culkin will always go down in my book as loyal, good friends. They had managers and agents who didn't want them involved, but both of them told me, Michael needs us, and we're going to be there. The Larry King interview, the bedroom explanation. Before the trial, Culkin sat down with Larry King on national television to defend his friend. And what he said in that interview has been passed around ever since, because it's actually pretty simple.
Young people. So
It's because it's the same reason why he liked me, was the fact that I didn't care who he was. That was the thing. I talked to him like he was a normal human being. And that's what, and kids do.
King asked about what happened at Neverland. Culkin said, we played video games, and he had an amusement park. They go, oh, they slept in the same bedroom as him. Then he said, I don't think they understand that Michael Jackson's bedroom is 2 stories and has 3 bathrooms. So yeah, I slept in his bedroom, but you have to understand the whole scenario of that.
Why people react the way that they do.
why do you think he likes
Do that to him because he's not, I mean, he's Michael Jackson, the pop singer, but he's not the god of, the king of pop or anything like that. He's just, a guy who's actually very kid-like himself and wants to go out there and wants to play video games with you.
your parents like encourage it?
They weren't against it. It wasn't like they encouraged.
Michael liked having friendships with younger people. They didn't care who he was. I talked to him like a normal human being. He's just a guy who is very kid-like himself. He wants to play video games. And on the 1993 Chandler settlement, Culkin said, if somebody had done something like that to my kid, I wouldn't just settle for some money. I would make sure the guy was in jail. It just really goes to show. They got the money and they ran.
Or like pushing me upon it. It was just kind of like I wanted to hang out with them, and they were fine with it.
So what do you make of what he's going through now?
Like like I said, it's unfortunate, and it's a circus right now.
You think it's a bad rap?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, listen. Like, look what happened the first time this happened to him. If someone had done something like that to my kid, I wouldn't just settle for some money. I'd make sure the guy was in jail.
He also explained why the 2020 statement, nothing to gain, everything on the line. By 2020, Michael Jackson had been dead for over a decade. Culkin had no career reason to keep defending him. Time to speak up. If I had something to speak up about, I would totally do it. But no, I never saw anything. He never did anything.
I just watched a lot of things about him. I think somebody once reflected and said, what Michael went through as a child, he had to grow up so fast that he related to what you went through as a child, and I think in a way he was trying to protect you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I got something that was kind of profound. Did you feel that?
Yeah, he reached out to me because a lot of things were happening, big and fast with me, and I think he identified with that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost easy to try to say, oh, it was like weird or whatever, but it wasn't, because it made sense. Like we were legitimate. Like, here's the thing: at the end of the day, we were friends in the most simple.
And he was a child
kind of,
in many ways too. He didn't.
but also like we were just like. It's like one of my friendships that people question only because of the fact that he was the most famous person in the world. Like like I'm friends. We're friendly. You know what I mean? And then people wouldn't question that. Because we're friends.
Because we're in the same age.
You don't have to explain that. Also, you don't have to explain your friendships to people. Like, I mean, seriously, how many friendships have you had to really explain to people?
Not many.
No trial coming up, no legal pressure, and he still hadn't changed a word. In a 2020 Esquire interview, still being referenced in April 2026 coverage, Culkin said, I'm going to begin with this. It's not a line, it's the truth. He never did anything to me. He went further on the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum. The guy has passed on. If anything, right now is a good time. And here's the detail that almost never comes up in these conversations. Dan Reed opens his mouth. So the Michael biopic drops April 24th, 2026, directed by Antoine Fuqua, starring Jafar Jackson, Michael's actual nephew, in the lead role. First weekend, #1 in 64 out of 82 international markets. New record for a music biopic in 63 countries. Most people would let a movie exist, let audiences enjoy it. But Dan Reed decided this was the moment to start giving interviews. The Epstein comparison. In a Hollywood Reporter interview published April 24th, 2026, Macaulay Culkin is the godfather to all 3 of Jackson's children, Paris, Prince, and Biggie. That's not a title you hand to someone you have any doubt about. Paris Jackson was even at Culkin's Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony in early 2024, with an MJ musical poster fittingly visible behind them. The loyalty goes in both directions, and it extends to the next generation. The same day the movie opened, Reed said, "This guy was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. People don't care that he was a child molester. Literally, people just don't care." Global News Canada the same day, short of having actual video evidence of Michael Jackson engaged, I don't know what would be sufficient for people. He compared the biopic to a promotional film about Harvey Weinstein, said you would not get a single major Hollywood talent to sign up for a movie like that, then asked why everyone is glorifying Jackson.
Someone who had strong views about that mythology is the director Dan Reed of Leaving Neverland, which Variety went to for comment. It's a long interview. It's worth reading as a counterpoint, but I will simply share this comment because we obviously know what Leaving Neverland focused on. Variety asked, quote, "How do you feel about the ways the Jacksons have shielded his legacy by producing musicals and films that sidestep his response? Why are they dancing around this?" Which is undisputed, ... and neither...
He called him an asexual plastic action doll. He also accused director Antoine Fuqua of doing the movie for money, which is quite something from a man whose entire career for the last 7 years has been built on one documentary about Michael Jackson. Why the biopic actually left out the
The
allegations.
estate, nor the writer of the film, nor anyone else has provided any alternative narrative apart from, oh, he didn't have a childhood, so he needed to spend the night alone with kids, which makes no sense, end quote.
And in a Variety interview on April 27, found a clause buried in the 1994 civil settlement with the Chandler family. That clause legally barred Jordan Chandler from ever being depicted or mentioned in any film, ever. Their own people missed it. So it wasn't a cover-up, it was a legal disaster they walked right into. What followed was 22/11. Reed said he watched the movie and described Michael Jackson as, and these are his actual words, a waxwork who performs jukebox songs with zero insight into what makes Jackson tick. Now, Reed also accused the filmmakers of deliberately covering up the abuse allegations. That's not what happened, and the actual story is more interesting than that. The original screenplay, written by 3-time Oscar nominee John Logan, was built around the 1993 allegations. The Jordan Chandler case was the backbone of the third act. Director Antoine Fuqua confirmed to The New Yorker that the film originally opened with the 1993 police raid on Neverland. The allegations were in the script, they shot the footage. Then, the Jackson estate's own lawyers, who were also serving as producers, emergency days of reshoots. Production moved from Santa Barbara to Los Angeles, which cost them their state tax rebate. The reshoots added between $10 and $15 million to a budget that was already at $155 million. And the film got pushed back a full year, from April 2025 to April 2026. Lionsgate has since called it effectively a Part 1, meaning the door is open for a sequel that could cover the allegations era directly. So the story isn't being buried, it's just not in this film. The real reason Dan Reed won't stop talking. Here's what ties all of this together. Dan Reed is not a journalist working in the public interest. He's a filmmaker. And right now, he is actively building the media environment for a $400 million civil lawsuit. Wade Robson and James Safechuck are currently suing MJJ Productions and MJJ Ventures, the companies that were formerly owned by Jackson. That trial is scheduled for November 2026. The demand is $400 million. The Jackson estate has refused every settlement offer. Reed already released Leaving Neverland 2 on YouTube in 2025, which literally documents Robson and Safechuck preparing for this exact trial. And he is now working on a third documentary to cover the trial itself. So think about that. Every worse than Epstein quote, every Hollywood Reporter sit down, every attack on the biopic right when it opens in 64 countries. He is not talking to you. He is talking to the jury pool. He is trying to shape what people in Los Angeles think before 12 people walk into that courtroom in November 2026. That's the game. The FBI investigation Dan Reed never talks about. The FBI opened an investigation into Michael Jackson in 1992. By 1993, after the first allegations, federal agents began actively investigating his alleged involvement with young boys. That investigation ran for almost 10 years, 1993 to 2005. They had full surveillance capabilities, tapped phones, bugged hotel rooms, federal resources. During the 2003 raids on Neverland Ranch, 16 hard drives were confiscated. All 16 sent to the FBI's Computer Analysis Response Team for full forensic analysis.
Just when you thought you knew everything there was to know about the often bizarre life of Michael Jackson, more information is revealed. The FBI has released more than 300 pages of formerly classified documents relating to the late King of Pop, including details regarding his cases. It's also come out a man allegedly obsessed with Jacko's sister Janet threatened to kill the star and thousands of his fans if he wasn't given half of the singer's fortune. In one letter dated in July 1992, the man states he will personally for the details to be released under the US Freedom of Information Act. There is nothing in the pages which provides any new information on Jacko's sudden death.
The results? Nothing. Not one piece of incriminating material on a single drive. Of extortion attempts and threats, not as a perpetrator. Jordan Chandler refuses to cooperate. Now here's the part that really says everything. Jordan Chandler, the original 1993 accuser, was contacted by 2 FBI agents in 2004. They wanted him to testify at the 2005 criminal trial to strengthen the prosecution's case. They flew out to meet him. They explained what they needed. Chandler told them he would not testify against Michael Jackson under no record of accessing or searching for illegal content. Clean. The FBI released over 333 pages of documents in December 2009, more than 600 pages in total across 8 parts. And here's what almost no one mentions. 2/3 of those files placed Michael Jackson as a victim in any circumstances. He said he would legally fight any attempt to force him to.
You guys, you're not going to believe this. Yes, Jordan Chandler, the son, was literally drugged by his father, dentist Dr. Evan Chandler, into a confession. This is from an article at that time. It reads, on August 2nd, 1993, dentist Dr. Evan Chandler was...
When a criminal trial was actually happening, what does that tell you about the original accusation? June 13th, 2005. Michael Jackson acquitted on all counts. Dan Reed says Michael was worse than Jeffrey Epstein. The FBI spent 10 years looking with full federal resources, seized 16 hard drives, and found absolutely nothing. The original accuser refused to cooperate with prosecutors.
Extracting a tooth from...
Macaulay Culkin has been saying the same thing since 1993. The FBI file says the same thing he's been saying. One of those two things, Culkin's 30 years of testimony or Dan Reed's documentary, had access to the other side of the story. The Epstein photo explained. One more thing. In December 2025,
from his own son, Jordan. Well, he did something unusual. Under the supervision of an attending anesthesiologist, Dr. Chandler injected his son with a dose of sodium amytal, a barbiturate. Although in popular culture, it has sometimes incorrectly been called a truth serum, it is not normal to use sodium amytal to pull a tooth. In fact, it is a psychological drug with sedative and hypnotic effects, end quote. Evan Chandler, Dr. Evan Chandler, after compelling this confession from his son, literally drugging him, it's giving Harley Pasternak vibes.
And with it. Then, Michael Jackson's bodyguard, Matt Fittis, came forward on December 20th, 2025, with a post titled, "The Truth About This Epstein-Michael Jackson Photo." Fittis said he was physically present when the photo was taken. Here's what actually happened. Michael wanted to move to Palm Beach to be near his friend Barry Gibb of the Bee Gees, who he had been recording music with. His team arranged real estate viewings at multi-million-dollar properties in the area.
Then demanded $20 million privately from Michael Jackson to not make it public. He also took his son to a psychiatrist and made his son describe graphic details of what Jackson had done to him, but not to any of the other boys who were present as well.
December 9th, 2004, the FBI closed that line of investigation. Their official finding? No outstanding leads or evidence items. Think about it. One of the houses on the list that was for sale happened to be Epstein's. Now I want to know from you, do you think the Michael biopic made the right call, leaving out the allegations given the legal situation? That if Jordan Chandler, the man whose accusations started all of this in 1993, refused to testify 11 years later, 9 out of 12 jurors voted to acquit before deliberations even started. The DOJ released over 300,000 pages of Epstein files. Inside those files was a photo. Michael Jackson standing next to Jeffrey Epstein at Epstein's Palm Beach home. Dan Reed used it to fuel the worse than Epstein angle. The internet ran. Or should they have found a way to include it? I read every single one. See you in the next one.